Hi, this is Nandini Praveen, and this is the Pilgrim's Progress. So, the Pilgrim's Progress from this world to that which is to come is a Christian allegory written by John Bunyan. It is regarded as one of the most significant works of religious and theological fiction in English literature. It has also been regarded as the first novel written in English. So the plot centers around the journey from hometown, the city of destruction, that is this world, to the celestial city, which is heaven. The work is a symbolic vision of the good man's pilgrimage through life. It is written in two parts. So, in the first part, the plot follows the protagonist, Christian, as he travels from his home, the city of destruction, to the celestial city. After reading the Bible, Christian becomes aware of his sins that seem to loom over him like a terrible burden. He fears the fact that these sins will draw him to hell, which will be too painful for him to bear. So, to shrug off his sins and to attain a place in the celestial city, Christian leaves his wife and children behind and sets off on a journey to the wicket gate, which was pointed out to him by Evangelist. Obstinate and Pliable follow him in an attempt to bring him back. In turn, Pliable himself is inspired to join Christian and Obstinate leaves. They hit another pit stop in their journey when the two fall into the slough of Despond. It is a swamp where pilgrims' doubts, fears, temptations, lusts, shames, guilts, and the sins of their present condition of being a sinner are used to sink them into the mud of the swamp. Pliable was able to get out and he leaves, but Christian is dragged down by his burdens. But he is saved by a man named Help. On his way to the wicket gate, Christian meets Mr. Worldly Wiseman, who persuades him to disregard Evangelist's advice and instead go to the village of morality and seek out Mr. Legality and his son's civility. However, Christian's burdens become heavier and he stops. Evangelist reappears and exposes Worldly Wiseman, civility, and legality as frauds and sets him back on the path to the wicket gate. The gatekeeper, whose name was Goodwill, lets Christian through and directs him to the house of the interpreter, where he is shown pictures that portray different aspects of the Christian faith. On continuing his journey, Christian reaches the place of deliverance. It is here that the straps of his burden breaks and it falls off his shoulder. Three angels, which are also known as the Shining Ones, appear and give him a sealed scroll that he has to present when he reaches the celestial gate. With his scroll, Christian continues his journey. On reaching the hill of difficulty, he chooses the straight and narrow path where he falls asleep halfway through in an arbor and loses the scroll. He wakes up and then proceeds to the top of the hill unaware that he had lost his scroll. He had to return to find a scroll, by the way. He arrives at the palace Beautiful, where he meets damsels Discretion, Prudence, Pity, and Charity. They gave him the armor of God. It is here that Christian learns that a former neighbor named Faithful is traveling ahead of him. On reaching the Valley of Humiliation, he fights a battle with the monster Apollyon. Defeating him, he then passes through the scary valley of the shadow of death. Finally, Christian catches up with Faithful and the two enter the town of Vanity, which was home of the ancient Vanity Fair. The whole idea of the city was to trap pilgrims traveling to the celestial city through lust and worldly pleasures. The two men were strangely dressed and showed no interest in the merchandise of the fair and were hence arrested. Faithful was sentenced to death and he was immediately taken to the celestial city. So this was kind of like a shortcut for him. But Christian is returned to prison from where he escapes. A man named Hopeful accompanies Christian. Their path kept getting more difficult, so Christian suggested that they should travel through Bypath Meadow, which was an easier route. But since nothing is easy and straightforward in the story, it does not come as a surprise that the two get lost and are caught up in a storm. They then try to turn back but reach the Doubting Castle, where they are caught and tortured by giant despair. Finally, Christian realizes that he has a key called promise, and they use the key to escape. Christian and Hopeful reach the Delectable Mountains that was just outside the Celestial City, but they follow the flatterer. The only way to correct this mistake was for a Shining One to rescue them. They are rescued and put on the right path. Some more events take place, but I think we should cut right to the chase. Before entering the castle of the Celestial City, they must cross the river of death as a test of their faith. They set out on foot to Mount Zion. Christian has it difficult because of his sins wearing him down. But Hopeful helps him and they present their scrolls and are welcomed into the Celestial City. So, this was the first part. In the second part, Christian's wife, Christiana, their sons, and a neighbor called Mercy try to join Christian in the Celestial City. Christian's family and Mercy are guided by their mentor, Greatheart. They have it relatively easier because Christian made the way smoother. When they reach the Celestial City, Christiana's sons and their wives they made during the travel decide to stay behind to help future pilgrims. So, in conclusion, the Pilgrim's Progress, in all its glory, is like a folk tale with humor and realistic portrayals of characters. The message of Pilgrim's Progress is one of perseverance in the Christian faith and the cost of salvation. So, Christian's journey becomes a symbol to the idea that the road to heaven is not easy, and a true Christian must be willing to pay the cost that comes with salvation and eternal glory. Thank you.